My next question is probably the simplest of the lot. Uh, tell me, what's the future of airline loyalty, Safir?
I think the future of airline loyalty will stop being about the flight and it'll start being about the journey in the fullest sense. Before the trip, during the trip, after the trip. I think the programs that are going to survive and thrive are going to be the ones that are going to just be genuinely useful in your daily life, right? Not just useful when you're booking a ticket. So the miles currency will evolve. Some programs are going to move towards more cash equivalent wallets. Others we're already starting to see more lifestyle oriented ecosystems. And what I've really been encouraged to see is when you start thinking about lifestyle oriented programs, what does in destination engagement look like? Today, we're starting to see some elements of it, but not enough, in my opinion. And if Pass the Nation can play our role in the industry, hopefully we can move that forward for all players. But it's about getting the data and a relationship advantage that just compounds over time, right? Because the airlines that are going to be collecting the richest behavioral data are going to do something with that data, personalized offers, better programs, better segmentation, better understanding of their members, which is just going to compound because if you understand your members better, you can deliver better value to them. But it starts with data, and then you need a mechanism to collect that data, which is Wallet Pass, and the Wallet Pass ultimately is still giving value to the member. So, I'm not saying we are the future of airline loyalty, but I do think that we're part of a wave around airline loyalty evolving to be much more journey-based as opposed to flight-based. And I think the importance of data, the importance of behavioral psychology, and the importance of, let's just say, like real value, right? I don't think travelers want to start calculating the complex calculus of their points mechanics the way that they have been, right? Oh, devaluing points, and this is what it looks like. That's not fun. That's taking away the experience of travel. It is a necessary evil, and we hear this from travelers as well. But how do we move to a world where airline loyalty doesn't require you to do that because there's so many other elements of this, and it all has to be stitched together in a very simple way. So, words that are easy to throw around, much harder to deliver on. But I do think that I'm encouraged by where the industry is heading, and whatever we can do to play a role in that would be great.
Interesting. My final question, Safir. Do you have any podcasts or book recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, certainly more of a podcast than a book guy, especially with all of my extensive travel. I try to keep it light, so I don't carry as many books these days as I did before. On the podcast side, there's a few that definitely stand out to me. So I'm a big fan of Rethinking Tech, which is a podcast that looks at the intersection of geopolitics and technology. They have fantastic content, and it really keeps me up to date with what's happening. And that's outside of just like even an aviation context. It's kind of my go-to for just understanding.
Awesome. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, Rethinking Tech is definitely one of my favorites. When it comes to loyalty in aviation, I really like Let's Talk Loyalty. I think a lot of people have sung Paula's praises, but I really learn a lot every time I listen to one of the episodes, and I think the guests are fantastic, and it's just a great way for us to understand, where loyalty is, where it's heading, what different models look like, and bring a global perspective onto that. So that's been good. And then probably my favorite podcast, just to kind of nerd out on business and even just like intellectual stimulation, is probably Acquired. So very unique, but
I've heard that a lot from so many guests.
Yeah,
Acquired, yeah.
Tends to fill about 3 to 4 hours per episode, but that's a flight a lot of times for me.